Hi guys, I miss seeing your faces. I hope you are all well and staying active and healthy and safe. So this video is about the heart rate assignment from last week. I needed a lot of you guys to come into office hours and you didn't because you were busy with other office hours or you just weren't able to or just chose not to. So I'm hoping that you're watching this and I can walk you through the heart rate activity sheet from last week, because even though you may not have done it or you may not have done it correctly, I want you to still do it or fix it so that it is correct, because I want you guys to know how to do this. This is like the content, right, for now. So if you go back to your heart rate activity sheet and you go to number 1, it says find and record your resting heart rate. You're supposed to lay down for 2 minutes, calm down, which helps to lower your heart rate, and you get a truer resting heart rate. Ideally, you find your resting heart rate when you wake up in the morning, the sun is shining, the birds are chirping, you roll over and, oh, check your pulse. But let's be real, I can't tell you to do that because I don't even remember to do that. So relax for like 2 minutes and then find your pulse. 2 weeks ago, you had an assignment where you were supposed to practice finding your pulse. You're going to do that again, right? So you can either find your radial pulse in your wrist or your carotid pulse in your neck. And we're going to check right now together for 10 seconds. I'm going to set my timer. Reset. I'm going to find my pulse. I'm going to use my pointer finger and middle finger, and I'm going to go for my carotid pulse. And I found it, so I'm going to start in 3, 2, count. And stop. Good. So my resting heart rate right now is 60, although it is actually lower than that, but that's okay. We'll go for 60. So number 1, I would write down 60 beats per minute. BPM, beats per minute. Because, excuse me, what I did was I had 10 beats in that 10 seconds. I multiplied 10 by 6 because there are 6 groups of 10 in 1 minute, and I got 60. Let's pretend I got 8, right? If I got 8 in that 10 seconds, I would take 8 times 6. 8 times 6 is what, 48? I'm not a math brain. 8 times 6 is 48. Look at that. That's really low. It's probably not your heart rate. An average heart rate is typically somewhere between like 55, 60, and around 85. If it's higher, no big deal. It's probably because you are anxious or excited. You maybe didn't sleep well last night. Maybe you've got a cold. Maybe you're on medication like ADD or ADHD medication that normally raises your heart rate a little bit, which again, no big deal. So let's go to number 2. Number 2 is your maximum heart rate. Excuse me. You're going to take 220 and minus your age. I'm not going to do 37. Let's pretend I'm a middle schooler and I'm 13. So I do 220 minus 13. Again, you're pretending I'm a 13-year-old. Then I get 207. So my maximum heart rate is 207 for number 2. For number 3, we're going to take 207, our maximum heart rate, and then you're going to subtract your resting heart rate. So 207, I have to do math out because, again, I'm not a math brain. Minus 60 is 147. Please don't judge me. You're better at things than I am, and I'm sure I'm better at some things than you are. Math, not necessarily my best point. Okay, find your heart rate for the moderate exercise intensity. So this is like a zone, right, that we can try to figure out, okay, am I in the moderate zone? And this is what the zone is, right? Our heart rate reserve is this number right here. Beep, 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 beep. I wish I had different colors. So I'm going to take 147 and multiply it by 0.4. 147 times 0.4. Now, if I were to do this math out by hand, and I forgot to move the decimal, that's going to change this number a lot, because I got 58.8. You're welcome to round to 59. But if I didn't move that decimal, then I would have gotten 588, which is, excuse me, ridiculously high. So then I take that and I add my resting heart rate, which is 60. So 58.8 plus 60 is 118. So this first number, I'm just going to erase this because I don't have a lot of space, is 118. That's the lower end of my moderate intensity. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I take my heart rate reserve again, that 147, but this time I'm going to multiply it by 0.6. So 147 times 0.6 is 88.2. 88.2. I'm just going to say 88 for rounding's sake. And then I need to add my resting heart rate to that. So then I'm going to add 60. I hope you can see this well. And it equals 148. So my lower number is 118. That's a 118. And then my higher number is 148 for my moderate intensity zone. I'll do the same thing now for number 5. I take my heart rate reserve again. Back to number 3. Heart rate reserve is 147. And I'm going to multiply that by 0.7 this time. So, whoopsies, I messed my math up there. 147 multiplied by 0.7 is 103, 102.9, 103, and then I add my resting heart rate, which is 60, so it's 162. So this number is 162, and if you're following along, my heart rate reserve, again, is right here, so I'll take 147, I'm going to multiply by 0.85, 147 multiplied by 0.85, or your heart rate reserve multiplied by 0.85, for me is 125 if I'm rounding the number. And then I'm going to add my resting heart rate plus 60 is 185. Now, I have 162 and 185 for my top zones. Number 6. Number 6 is I'm going to do some exercises. Now, I'm not going to do all the exercises, guys, but the first one is arm circles, right? So I'll do the first one, arm circles. I'm going to go for 30 seconds. I'm going to do arm circles for 30 seconds, and this is it. I just make my arms go into circles, and isn't this so fun? And I'm going to flip or reverse my direction now because it's been 15 seconds. And then what I'm going to do right after this is I'm going to check my heart rate for 10 seconds. I'm not going to check it for a minute because that's obnoxious. I want us to figure out a 10-second count. 2, 1, pointer finger, middle finger. Find my pulse, carotid or radial, your choice. I'm going to start counting in 3, 2, 1. Stop. Okay, so my heart rate was 12. So that means if I got a pulse of 12 beats in 10 seconds, I need to take 12. I have to do this out. I'm doing it on my phone. I take 12 and I multiply that by 6, which is 72. Now, let's pretend I did all of the exercises, all of the activities in 6. If I then go down to number 7, the question is, which of the exercises, if any, did you work out in the moderate exercise intensity? I just told you I got 72 beats per minute for arm circles. Does this fall into the moderate zone? Hopefully you're saying no. Now, I can tell you that for all of the other exercises, perhaps the only thing that will get me into the moderate zone will be step-ups, and I will have to work my butt off for the 2 minutes to get into the moderate zone and to stay there. None of these exercises are going to get me into the vigorous zone unless I throw one of my kids on my back and do push-ups. Maybe push-ups, maybe. But even then, it might not get me into the vigorous zone. I might feel like I'm working at a vigorous intensity, but my heart rate doesn't say that. So remember, we're trying to figure out how hard we feel like we work versus what our heart rate is actually working at. Last week, we talked about Borg's scale, and we're going to continue to weave that through almost all of my assignments because Borg's scale is saying, okay, I feel like I'm working at a, what number? 6 out of 20, right? Somewhere in that range. And then you add a 0 on the end and you say, oh yeah, okay, I was working at a, 70. I went for a run today. I ran up the mountain, and the mountain is right there, which is why I'm pointing. I would say that I worked at like a 14 on a scale of 6 to 20 for Borg's scale. Borg's scale. I was at a 14. If I checked my Fitbit would have told me that my heart rate was around 130, 140, 150 the whole time. So remember, on Borg's scale, I felt like I was at a 14. If I had stopped and checked my heart rate would have been what? If I had checked for 10 seconds, 140 divided by 6, a sugar plum. 140 divided by 6, it's 23. So had I stopped and checked my pulse, I probably would have gotten in the low 20s, which would, right, if 23 times 6 is about 140. Does this all make sense? Goodness, I hope so. You will get more videos from me. And if you want me to teach a live class, I'm on it. A live content class rather than a live activity class. Just ask, guys. I am here for you. I miss you guys. Hopefully this all makes sense. Remember, in number 7 and number 8, you're trying to figure out if am I in this moderate intensity zone or this intensity zone. Your numbers are going to be different than these because your resting heart rate may not have been 60. And if it's not, it's totally fine. Right? It might have been higher or lower. I miss you guys dearly. Please know that I have workouts on Mondays and Thursdays. Mondays, I do a meditation yoga at 11 o'clock, right? Yeah, 11 to 11:30. And then on Thursdays, I do the same thing, but it's not meditation yoga. It's like a boot camp style class. If you guys have questions, ask, reach out. I like to just see your face. You can always pop in my office hours, which are directly after the workouts, and they're on a different Google Meet. Okay, bye guys. Miss you.